they talking real loud, spreading on lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around us, how it's gonna be. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track.
Another Queen Ahmadiyyah production.
Haze on the corner, they talking real loud, spreading on lies, trying to bring me down. Enemies lurking, but I won't back away. Got a vision in my mind, I'm here to stay. Got my crew beside me, we rise like a tide. When the storm gets rough, we ain't gonna hide. Propaganda swirling, but it won't touch me. Only love around us, how it's gonna be. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's an unstoppable track. In the city lights where dreams collide, we hustle through the night, fire in our stride. Whispers in the dark can't dim my glow. With rhythm in my soul, I'm ready for the show. We break the chains, rewrite the rules in this concrete jungle where nobody's fools. Unity sings louder than the lies they scheme. In the heart of the struggle, we dare to dream. We keep moving forward, never looking back. The truth's in the power, it's in.
Right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your Saturday Vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so let's see who is in here. Terry Hinton, Perplex, Lillian X, Juju B, Khalid is here, Claudette. All right, Latasha, let's get ready to get into it. Okay, Lady Painter is here, 504 Nola. All right, C Stan, thank you for the donation, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings to you. I appreciate you. Okay, so let's get into it. Juju B is in the house. Lillian X, Alice is here. Goodness Reddit Bo, we the people. Okay, so hey, Deronda. Shout out to all my loyal royals, everyone tuned into the Queen, and a big shout out to my moderators, because y'all know they stay putting in work. Now let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Okay, so don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes hair oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts, and you can also find it at Walmart.com. And she sells beard oil as well. Okay, so now with that all being said, let's get ready to get into it. First things first. So on yesterday, I reported to you all about Diddy getting caught with the prison hooch, okay, or the prison wine, whatever you want to call it. And so there's a report on News Nation we're going to look at where this guy is talking about the possible consequences. Now, you know, Diddy's team did come out and say, or one of the spokespeople came out and said something about, you know, let's not jump to conclusions. Sometimes rumors get spread and whatnot. They're basically trying to downplay it and say, you know, we don't know for a fact that this happened. But TMZ is usually reliable when they get inside sources and whatnot. And you know, we know they got to be clicked in with the police or whatever. So it probably is the case nonetheless. And so let's talk about it because I want to hear what he says these possible consequences could be. And also, is this, something that could potentially prevent Diddy from staying in the D-Rap program and being released early? Okay. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Also, beloveds, do not forget that they constantly unsubscribe people on a regular basis. So don't let that be you. Okay. If you have not been receiving those notifications, please do yourself a favor and double check to see if you have been unsubscribed from the channel. Okay. At the end of the day, also, when they do things like that, it can affect your memberships. Okay. So you really should be making sure every day because it can affect your memberships. If you have one and they unsubscribe you, that means they took your membership too. Okay. So now with that all been said, let's get into it. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share.
Start with toilet wine, turns out is a misnomer. The toilet is mostly a hiding place, and God knows it is not really wine, right? And Sean Diddy Combs is not the first prison inmate to get busted with it, allegedly. But Diddy may be the first to have once owned a vodka brand worth upwards of $1 billion. That would be Ciroc, which sold officially earlier this year for a fraction of that price. Ciroc is distilled 5 times from the finest French grapes, or so it claims. Toilet wine, on the other hand, is a fermented combo of Fanta, sugar, and apples. And though there are many variations, they are all alcoholic, which is the point, and all strictly off limits in lockup. But TMZ is reporting that Diddy has been caught with the stuff, this week, in fact. He did have a birthday on Tuesday and was going to be moved to a new unit, apparently, as punishment, but the officials changed their minds, according to the report. But that still leaves the question of Diddy's alleged newfound sobriety, which he made such a big point of emphasizing when he was sentenced, and whether this will have any impact on that sentence. Joining me now with his hard-won expertise on all of this is our friend Gene Borrello, a former mob enforcer and ex-federal inmate. Gene, I have been dying to talk to you about this. Every time I hear toilet wine, I keep thinking, do you stir it in the toilet? And if so, how is it clean? And how on earth do you make a duty? But I have come to learn, no. So for our audience, can you explain what it is and how it's made?
Yeah, so it's called hooch. Basically, is different ways to make it. You can make it with orange peels. You can make it with sugar. It is all different ways. But what a lot of people don't know, and why it is serious in prison, it can blow up. So if you don't know what you're doing and you don't let it breathe, as they say, it could actually be like a bomb. So it actually can blow up and everything will spray everywhere. But it can get you drunk, and it could also land you in the hole. So, I mean, I don't know as far as them saying he's going to move him out of the unit. I know it's a very serious ticket. I know he could lose his phone, he could lose commissary, and he could lose visits, and also maybe go to the SHU for up to 30 days or maybe more.
So, I mean, that's all serious stuff. I keep wondering about the sentence. Do you not think it's possible, especially since he campaigned, in his sentencing, that he was getting sober? He'd been working on, on a sobriety at the MDC. And now he's at Fort Dix. And if this is true, if the report's true, might they say, well, screw it. You're not getting your 15% off your federal sentence.
Right. So it don't work like that. But every ticket in the feds, if it's a certain degree ticket, you will lose some good time. We call it good time. In New York State and federal prison is two different. You could actually lose your good time in New York State or any state prison and get your good time back. The feds, once you lose it, you can't get it back. So if he does lose 20 days, 40 days for this, he cannot get it back, or whatever they recommend for him to lose, because they will recommend days to be lost on this kind of ticket.
Okay, let's get back to making it. I know you gave me the ingredients.
Right.
I want you to tell me how you put them together and the burping, which is interesting. But before you do that, how is the toilet involved? Because in my mind, whenever I heard toilet wine, I imagine an inmate stirring, the hooch in the toilet bowl, but that's not it. Right. So explain what actually happens.
Well, they usually get a big garbage bag, like a big clear bag. I've seen it done in a garbage bag, and they'll put it in the toilet and then let it sit in there. You know what I mean? They won't actually put it in the toilet bowl. You get what I'm saying? With the water. You know what I mean, right? You're not actually stirring it in the toilet bowl.
In the tank, yeah. So it's in a bag, and it's hidden in the toilet tank, not in the toilet bowl.
Not in the toilet bowl,
and
yes.
That's just,
It takes a while to
Good
make.
distinction. But
It takes a while to make. It's not just an overnight thing. This takes days to make it. And remember, it smells really bad, so you have to have a good hiding spot. It's very strong.
oh, it does smell. Okay, so that's the other thing.
Yes.
So the toilet tank is why you're hiding it from the view of the guards, not necessarily
Right.
the temperature of the toilet tank is, you know, optimal for the fermentation of the lovely hooch, you know.
Right.
But so they put it in the toilet tank, and then how does the toilet tank fill up with water to flush? You pull it out, do your business, and flush, and then put it back in?
Yes, yes. So, like I said, these people that usually do make it are very good at it, and they actually charge to make it. So in prison, in federal prison, everything's a business. So he probably paid somebody to actually hold that in their cell and make it for his birthday. I guess it was his birthday that came up, and they will make this alcohol beverage for you. But what's confusing to me is that when you're in the feds, usually there's a crooked CO that'll just bring you in an actual bottle of vodka. So I don't know why they even made it.
Serious?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
Dang. Okay.
Yes.
So the whole thing you just said about them selling the toilet wine, I feel like Diddy wouldn't have to buy it. There'd be a lot of people who'd want to be friends with Diddy, and they'd be handing it over. Really?
No, they know how much money he has. Everybody's so happy that he's in the jail right now because they see currency. So all they're doing right now is going up to his cell and trying to sell him everything that they have possible. Actually, trying to get on salary with him to make his bed, clean his cell, go extra shopping for him, extra phone calls, cell phones, anything they can. They're all going to his cell trying to sell something to him because they know he has money. They do it to everybody with money in those jails.
Wow, that's something. Let me quickly read the statement that Diddy's team put out when TMZ broke this news, because they really stopped short of denying it. But this is what they said. Mr. Combs is in his first week at FCI Fort Dix and is focused on adjusting, working on himself, and doing better each day. As with any high-profile individual in a new environment, there will be many rumors and exaggerated stories throughout his time there, most of them untrue. We ask that people give him the benefit of the doubt, the privacy to focus on his personal growth with grace and purpose. Here's the question. Do most people screw up in just the first few weeks? Because I think he's only been there less than 2 weeks.
But like I said, everyone does. You know, prison, you know, when you get with your people, so in the feds, he's hanging out with all the New York guys. The feds are very segregated, so you're going to go with your own. So in the federal system, he's with the New York car. They call it cars. So he's with his car, which is the New York car, and he's with all his New York guys. And whatever's going on in that car, he's a part of it and hanging out with everybody. So if they're all drinking hooch, they're all doing this, you know, that's just what goes on. You know what I mean? He's going to be with his guys, and, you know, you never know what's going to be going on with them. And people tend to get in trouble a lot in these prisons. Very easy.
Gene Borello, I would be in your car any day of the week. I can't tell you how much I learn from you every time you're on. Thank you so much for always schooling me on this, and I appreciate you sharing and being candid.
All right, no problem. Thank you, Ashley, having me on.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was very interesting. I absolutely loved it because y'all know I'm nosy, and I like him and the way he talks and the information he gives is so much more credible to me than that other guy they have on there with the bald head who said he was in the feds for 10 years and calls himself some sort of prison expert or whatever. I'm like, dude, sit down somewhere. He sounds like such a clout chaser, but this guy gave some really good information. Okay, so what do you all think? What do y'all think? Fly Eagles Fly said we still don't know if it's true. Yeah, we don't, but you know, it likely is. Bottom line is, it was just interesting to how he explained how they make it and all of that and how they put it in the toilet tank and everything and what all you could lose if you get caught with it. And then when he said you could just get one of those corrupt guards to bring you in a bottle, I'm like, did nobody tell Diddy that? Did they not tell him that? But you know what? Another thing is, he says that if you're hanging with a group of people and they're all doing something, then you're doing it too. And that is true because here's the thing. In prison, even if you're not doing it and there's a group of you, you're all going down. You're all going to get in trouble. That's how that works. And Diddy was probably drinking it for his birthday because his birthday was November the 4th. So I'm just saying, I believe more than likely he was. I believe more than likely he was because his birthday was November the 4th, okay? That's right. Sierra said he wants to fit in. Yeah, he does. And who doesn't? When you get to prison, you definitely don't want to be on your own because that makes you an open target for prey, for prey or whatever. Terry Hinn said, Queen, is that man Italian? The guy that was just talking on News Nation? Yes. Yes, I absolutely believe he's Italian. XX Frank Nitty said Italians are racist. Well, not all of them, beloved. Not all of them, okay? I've had a few Italian friends in my life, and they were not racist. Now, with that all being said, let's get into it. Ex Frank Nitty said, dude is a clout chaser. He didn't come up as a clout chaser to me, but the other guy definitely does. Okay, so anyway, without further ado, let's get into it, okay? Let's get into it. We have a few topics to cover. Okay, so where are we going next? Let's talk about SNAP. Let's talk about the SNAP report because we knew that Trump was probably going to try something else. Fly Eagles Fly said, not Robert De Niro. Okay, exactly. Or Al Pacino. Okay, so here's the thing. I told you all there's no telling what Trump was going to try. And that hopefully, it was good that some people actually already got their benefits. They woke up yesterday and their money or whatever was on their cards, their food stamps and all of that was on their card. But then, in true Trump fashion, he pulled a reverse Uno card and got them to halt the benefits. Okay, that's what he got them to do. So let's get into it. Likes up. Everyone please like and share. Supreme Court lets Donald Trump halt SNAP funding for now. States warn that the ongoing legal battle over food assistance funding is sowing chaos and risk leaving American families without essential benefits. So President Donald Trump filed an emergency application at the Supreme Court on Friday evening in a last-ditch effort to avoid sending out Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program benefits for November. Now, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who presides over emergency applications for the First Circuit, granted Trump's request. The Joe Biden appointee said that a temporary pause of a lower court's ruling to fund the SNAP program was necessary to give the First Circuit time to review the administration's pending stay motion. Jackson said her order would expire 48 hours after the court's ruling, which the First Circuit Court is expected to issue with dispatch. Now, a federal judge had directed officials to tap a multi-billion-dollar contingency fund to ensure benefits for 42 million Americans during the government shutdown. Trump said the funds are depleted and can't be replenished until Congress approves new spending, saying such a funding lapse is a crisis. This is what the U.S. Solicitor General John Sauer said. Okay, but it's also saying, but it is a crisis occasioned by congressional failure and one that can only be solved through congressional action. Now, the SNAP program, which supports 42 million Americans, mostly children, seniors, and people with disabilities, became the focus of a lawsuit by cities, charities, churches, nonprofits, and unions after Trump said benefits would pause in November due to the shutdown. U.S. District Court Judge John McConnell of Rhode Island, a Barack Obama appointee, issued the temporary order last week requiring payments to resume. But the administration said that it would provide only partial payments covering half of the eligible households. Okay, and then we know the rest. Some of these people luckily got theirs. But according to reports, now it's all paused. Okay, so I'm going to go to a couple of these news reports. Everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. Okay, here we go.
President Donald Trump's administration is allowed to withhold about $4 billion needed to fully fund the food aid program known as SNAP, or food stamps, for now. The U.S. Supreme Court gave the temporary green light late on Friday in an order called an administrative stay. It gives an appeals court extra time to consider the Trump team's request to only partially fund SNAP for November amid the federal government shutdown. The stay also pauses a U.S. district judge's ruling that the administration must fully fund the program by Friday. That came after the White House said it would provide $4.65 billion in emergency funding to partially cover SNAP benefits for the month. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program costs $8.5 to $9 billion a month to support 42 million low-income Americans. Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, who is assigned to review emergency appeals, issued the stay. She said the appeals court was expected to make a decision soon and set the stay to expire 2 days after the decision. SNAP benefits lapsed at the start of the month for the first time in the program's 60-year history. Recipients have turned to already strained food pantries and made sacrifices like foregoing medications to stretch tight budgets. The benefits are paid monthly to eligible Americans whose income is less than 130% of the federal poverty line. The maximum monthly benefit for the 2026 fiscal year is $298 for a one-person household and $546 for a two-person household.
Okay, this is also egregious. And at this point, I don't know how Trump thinks that he can still have everyone, thinking that this is the Democrats, because he's done so much. And he's like just doing everything he can to stop these people from getting these benefits. That's why I further think he's done something with the cash.
Did side with the Trump administration to block SNAP benefit payments for now. The California Department of Social Services says they have already dispersed whatever money they had left over. So if you do depend on SNAP here in the Bay Area, you should see that reflected in your account as late as Monday.
Folks are scared. Folks have been scared all week that they weren't going to be replenished.
Rebecca Armendariz' nonprofit SCOTUS has been slammed.
So yesterday we gave out 100 bags of food. We've never given out that much for anything except for toys during Christmas.
SNAP benefits for millions of Americans ran out on November 1st because of the government shutdown. And a Friday night decision by the Supreme Court says the Trump administration doesn't need to pay up immediately.
Those things are under attack, and it's hitting our most vulnerable the hardest.
Some reprieve here in California, though. The Department of Social Services says it paid 100% of SNAP benefits for November and got it approved before the Supreme Court's decision.
I have not yet. I just checked, as a matter of fact, just before the beginning of this interview, and no, the funds have not been deposited yet.
SNAP recipient Robert Aguirre hasn't gotten his money yet, but the state says it can take up until Monday. Aguirre is talking to us from Gilroy, where service providers say food insecurity is skyrocketing amid the government shutdown.
We've seen the lines for the food boxes double and triple this past week. They actually even impede traffic.
Elsewhere in the Bay Area, Contra Costa County prepared debit cards to hand out for if California SNAP benefits, known as CalFresh, run out again.
We are committed to ensure that every eligible family still gets its benefit if the federal government does not follow through.
Contra Costa County Supervisor John Joyas says if for whatever reason SNAP stops today and it isn't paid out until Monday, county offices are open.
Call first or come in to get one of our debit cards if for some reason their federal benefits have been loaded.
For Aguirre, he wants federal leaders to put people first.
I think they're fighting it tooth and nail here. And I really don't understand what is the logic behind that decision to starve that many people. And for him to start doing things like this is just alienating a lot of people. You know, it affects even farmers because farmers don't have the market to sell to anymore in the grocery stores.
Jack Molmet, Cron 4 News.
CNN had people going in on them online because when they were talking about SNAP and talking about what was going on about it, you know, that people were complaining that they were only showing Black people. So we're going to go to that after this last report on how Trump, you know, just is determined not to issue the SNAP.
So as we started the show talking about late tonight, the Trump administration asked the Supreme Court to immediately pause a federal judge's ruling that required the administration to fully fund SNAP for the month of November. And we just got word from the Supreme Court that they have granted the Trump administration's request. There are nearly 42 million Americans that rely on the SNAP program. Most of them, as I started the show talking about, children, seniors, or people with disabilities, families across the country. And while multiple states have already sent out some SNAP benefits to some of those people, and I'm not sure how they can be pulled back, hopefully they can't be, SNAP benefits are staggered. So some people get them on the 1st of the month, some on the 2nd or the 3rd or even the 28th. Every state distributes benefits differently. And even within states, the day one person gets their benefits is often different from when another person will. So even though some people may have already received this month's benefits, this decision is going to have an impact, an immediate one, on the lives of millions, if not tens of millions of Americans. Joining me now is the president and CEO of Democracy Forward, Skye Perryman. Democracy Forward is one of 2 groups that represented a coalition of 25 Democratic-led states in their lawsuit challenging the Trump administration's cuts to SNAP. Skye, I'm so grateful that you could join us and help us make sense of what this is, not make sense of it, but also understand what this means. So I have it here. It's only 2 pages, but what is your understanding for people watching out there who are deeply worried about this, deeply alarmed, deeply concerned about what the court decided, what it exactly means in the short term here?
Yeah, so we just are getting this order too and reading it alongside you. But this is an administrative stay, and so the court is going to wait and see what the First Circuit Court of Appeals does. The First Circuit said earlier today it would act quickly. And so, I do believe that this is, in the hands now of the First Circuit. That's what we hear from the Supreme Court. I think the main thing that we want Americans to understand is that the courts have been very clear. The courts that have considered this have been very clear that this administration not only has the legal authority to make these payments, but this administration must make these payments. And the administration is fighting tooth and nail to deprive over 40 million Americans of their food. We represent in these cases churches and nonprofit organizations and food banks and workers who are, working every day, but because of their economic circumstances and because of cyclical employment and our wages in this country cannot make ends meet without SNAP benefits. And this has been a devastating last 7 days for these communities across the country. And the courts have been clear that this administration, owns this responsibility, that they have the ability to make these payments. They are not making these payments. And we are confident, of course, in what we'll see at the First Circuit, which is what we're now waiting on.
Yet there's a contingency fund that has money that can cover these payments, and that is what you're referring to, and has plenty of money in there to do that in the short term. Let me ask you just like one legalese question just on timing, because I think a lot of people watching are wondering, like, how long will this be? It says at the very end of this, so this administrative stay will terminate 48 hours after the First Circuit's resolution of the pending motion, which the First Circuit is expected to issue with dispatch. What does that mean in terms of the First Circuit is going to rule? We're waiting for that. Hopefully they act quickly. What does the 48-hour thing mean? Anything?
We're going to have to see how this plays out, but I think that what the court is seeking to do here is to give the First Circuit time to go ahead and issue the opinion that it is said that it is going to issue imminently. Just want to be really clear, because I think the main piece here, there are lawyers like the ones at our team at Democracy Forward who are working right now to do everything they can. There are lawyers that are going to work night and day to try to get the American people what they need. This is the first time in U.S. history, that SNAP benefits have lapsed, and it's creating such harm. But what I think we want to make sure everybody understands is this is something that this administration is choosing to do to the American people. It is callous, it is immoral, and of course the courts have said it's unlawful, and we're confident in the strength of this case.
Well, I'm not confident in the strength of their case. Now, I'm going to let her continue, but here's the thing. The bottom line is, yes, this is absolutely nefarious. It is egregious and callous. And so basically, here's the administration's argument. So the administration argued that basically if they were forced to transfer $4 billion or more immediately, that the money would be gone and wouldn't be able to be recovered. That's crazy to me, because how do you have $40 billion to send to Argentina? Like, make that make sense. How would you give away $4 billion for an emergency transfer of funds for people who are not going to have food in your own country and then say once the money's gone, you can't get it back, but still you have money to give other foreign nations. That makes no sense. And then they say thus committing funds prematurely before appellate review. Now they say the stay allowed the appeals court to act before irreversible action was taken. The administration also contends that the lower court's order directing the agency to find money and make full payment was an intrusion. Because remember, when Judge McConnell told them, go ahead and pay it and you have until Friday, and don't give them a partial payment, give them all of it. So Trump and the administration were basically saying, for the judge to even try to order them to do that, that was an intrusion into executive appropriations decisions. And they said that the judge was basically commandeering funding allocation decisions that Congress and executive branch are supposed to handle. Like basically saying the judge was out of line and overstepping his boundaries, okay? And overusing his authority. All the stuff that Trump's doing, pay attention. Okay, then among the questions, there were questions about whether the agency must redirect funds from other programs, such as the Child Nutrition Section 32 Fund, to cover SNAP, or whether Congress's shutdown or lapse of appropriation legally permitted partial versus full payments, and whether the judge's order properly respected agency discretion and Congress's role. So these are some of the questions they all had, and then, or some of them had, and then because these issues are not fully reserved, the Supreme Court, by granting the stay, they claim to avoid making an immediate substantive ruling, instead allowing the lower court to address them first. So, it's just all a bunch of BS as far as I'm concerned. And the Supreme Court order did not rule on the merits of the case, however. That's what they didn't do. It was only an administrative stay of the lower court order pending the appeals court decision. Now, the stay, however, is temporary. It remains in place only until First Circuit rules within 48 hours thereafter per Ketanji Brown Jackson's order. The decision leaves open the possibility that full SNAP payments will still be required depending on the outcome of the appeal. And this dispute basically, of course, arises during a government shutdown, which complicates the usual appropriation and funding mechanisms. The administration's partial payment approach is tied to that context, so they say. Okay, so the bottom line is Trump doesn't want to pay it, and he's doing everything he can and everything in his power. And, he is well aware of the fact that the Supreme Court tends to side with him for the most part. Okay, they usually tend to side with him very often, and he knows it. So he just feels like, hey, I can do whatever. I don't have to listen to these federal judges. I'll just go above their heads.
Sky, you're so familiar with the legal process, and you have filed probably more cases against the Trump administration than almost anyone else out there. Talk to us a little bit about how hard they are working to make it so that Americans who rely on SNAP benefits don't get their money, because they've gone back to the court over and over again, and they essentially, for a period of time, seem to ignore a court order.
Yeah, it's really quite unbelievable, even for this administration. You saw the administration first came out and said they were confused and they thought they didn't have the legal authority to make payments. That was not truthful. That was a lie. The court was clear. They have the legal authority to do so. Then they came out and said, well, it would be our honor to make these payments after we won in court last weekend. They only then ignored the court order, and the president went out on social media and said and gloated that he was going to deprive people of these essential nutritional benefits, 42 million people, based on his politicizing and trying to use people as a pawn in politics. We won another court order earlier this week, as well as an order enforcing the prior one, and they have worked tooth and nail to try to block that. So this is really a crisis, I believe, of in our country. This is a crisis in our country's values, to understand that the president of the United States and this administration are working night and day to deprive the American people, 42 million of them, of basic food. That is what is happening. And of course, we're going to be there in court to try to do everything we can to get people what they need.
So tell me, you're just, as I just said, this just came out. You're processing this. Everybody is processing this and what this exactly means. What is next for Democracy Forward? What is next from the legal front from your end?
Well, our team is reading this, as well as talking with all of our clients on the ground. We will continue to work in this case. The First Circuit has said that they are going to issue an opinion. That's the appellate court, and so you'll find our lawyers, working through that process and doing everything we can to remedy what the courts have said is truly irreparable harm. I mean, you have families that are still unable to get the food they need as they're moving into a weekend because of this administration's action. So you will definitely see us, probably back here, but definitely in court. And again, the First Circuit has said that it will issue an opinion quickly, and I believe that is what the Supreme Court is waiting for.
Okay, so another day, and it's just like a back and forth. It's like they're playing ping pong. It's like Trump is playing tug of war. Like he's determined that he's going to get what he wants no matter what. And also, I meant to show you all this yesterday. I don't think I showed it to you. If I did, sorry. I'm going to play it again because I can't remember. But I wanted to show you all what Ice-T had to say about Trump. And no lies detected, because I've already told you all a myriad of times that Trump is a whole mob boss. Okay, he's running this Trump like he's Don Corleone or someone. And he has his minions, and then he's got his ICE goons, okay, out here lying to the courts, out here attacking and harassing people and then lying about it, acting as if they're the ones being attacked, allegedly. Okay, please pay attention to the chaos that's ensuing.
This whole get down is gang. If the first thing I say to you as we go into business, I need you guys' loyalty over everything. Loyalty is the first thing gangsters ask for, loyalty over everything. The second thing is he said he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and his people gonna ride with him. Then he said, can I pardon myself? I mean, like, yo, what are you doing, son? Like, you coming in on some gangster shit. He operates like that. He operates like I could fire you. More of his friends are in jail than my friends. When you a real gangster and your attorney goes to jail, that's a bad look. Okay, his attorney is under. What you saying? So I just don't understand. The laws don't apply to those who make them. I don't understand how this man hasn't had to show his tax returns. I mean, if I try to get a car, I got to show my tax returns. Like, he's a gang leader. His whole gang.
Okay, no lies detected. Trump does whatever he wants and gets away with it. That's just the fact. Now let's go to this report, and I'm going to have to use an overlay because this is not my video. This came from Comedy Plus. So shout out to them. But so people were going in, like I said, because CNN was only showing Black people when they were talking about the SNAP issues. Okay, and people said they were just showing nothing but Black people, acting as though we're the only ones, being stereotypical, basically, showing, going along with the stereotype and the false narrative that's already been pushed.
Atlanta, 5+ News, I'm Janaba.
And I'm still looking at my bank account like, but why isn't it cutting it? Why isn't it enough?
I have to come to pantries, and sometimes I don't have, all the food that I needed, to provide for my family.
What would it mean for you and your family if you don't get that money in November?
For the recent viral conversation around food stamps and SNAP benefits, many credible news outlets have begun adding to the coverage, interviewing people who use government assistance amid programs being cut off due to the current government shutdown. CNN, who according to its mission wants to inform, engage, and empower the world and considers themselves as truth seekers and storytellers, is now being questioned if they are about telling the truth, or more so, how much of it do they tell? On Thursday, a video would be released across CNN's social pages of a Black mom being interviewed about her struggles after not receiving her usual government assistance. The mother would even proceed to tell cameras that she felt like a failure despite having a college degree and working 40 hours a week.
Onita Norris is a single mom who works at a university. She relies on SNAP benefits, also known as food stamps, to help feed her family. The government shutdown has cut back funding for the program.
I went to college. I did all the things they say you're supposed to do. I'm trying to do all that I can. And yeah, I feel like I'm failing them.
Now, as we have learned a part of our coverage here about food stamps, the majority of stamp recipients, according to reports, are white Americans at 37%. While Black Americans make up 26% of food stamp users. So yes, this Black mother's story was real, but for some in the comments, it further projected a stereotype and a slight towards Black people, that they are the ones who always need help. While one user would go on to say, Interviews like these do humanize specific situations, but please interview a multitude of individuals from the group. You specifically selected a black woman to further push stereotypes. Most SNAP benefits do not go to black women, but I do appreciate the airtime focused on this. People deserve to eat. While another would say, why these interviews are always black people when it's white people that are mostly on food stamps. Now, to further investigate, we decided to take a more in-depth look at the food stamp coverage CNN would air across their social pages. And we would notice that they mainly only showed black people, and more specifically, black women. Now, just 7 days before the mentioned Black Mother story would air, CNN would release another video on the food stamp shutdown, this time at a food bank in DC. And guess who they would only interview amongst the recipients there? A black woman.
Tens of millions of Americans are at risk of losing federal food stamp benefits funded through the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program.
I have to come to pantries, and sometimes I don't have, all the food that I needed, to provide for my family. I just hope and pray for everybody that's out there being, in the same situation as me.
Now, interesting enough, while covering some of the federal workers who now need assistance, a CNN reporter would bypass the rural areas where a good majority of white food stampers live, as well as white residents lining up at food banks, and decided to travel to Queens, New York to interview another black woman about her struggles and needing assistance.
We're moving money around just to get by, going into our savings just to get by.
Here in Queens at a food distribution site, we're speaking with people here who are emotional, worried about how they're going to pay their bills, and knowing this is the only way they're going to put food on the table.
And literally just a week before this DC coverage on October 24th, they will post another government employee having to go to a food bank, and she too was a black woman.
I stand alone with fire inside, with passion burning.
I would have never thought in a million years that I would have been in this position.
Denise Blake says she drove over an hour to this food bank for federal workers. Blake is one of more than 1 million federal workers going without pay. She didn't go home empty-handed.
All right, let's see what else they have. Let me get you some. How many people are in your house?
It's myself, my daughter, and I have a sister there.
Now, when it did come to the focus of food stamp users, that same exact day, they will post another interview of a recipient, and we don't even have to say what she was.
What would it mean for you and your family if you don't get that money in November?
To have those benefits cut off can be an issue for me to get healthy food for me and my daughter. It can put people in desperate situations to make mistakes that they cannot come back from.
Again, to remind you, 37% of food stamp recipients are white Americans, compared to 26% of black Americans. Yet black people are the ones constantly being interviewed about it. Our investigation would further reveal that just several days before their story on the reported federal worker would be posted online, while breaking news on federal employees using food banks, they would cover the organization Capital Area Food Bank. And as it appears from their own story, this organization mainly serves a black community in DC and Virginia. Another conscious decision to not cover white communities of food stamp users. While trying to verify who Capital Area Food Bank mainly served for this report, on the front page of the website, we would notice who? A black mother and her child as the face of this mission. Now, combining the amount of views from all the stories just mentioned, the clips have collectively reached millions of people. Out of their consecutive videos posted on their social media accounts about the food stamp shutdown, CNN would mainly only showcase black people, and none of their videos would feature any of the 37% of white Americans who use the same service. So either there's a deliberate agenda to highlight black people as the needy, or maybe these reporters were too lazy to travel outside their cities where a good amount of less fortunate white Americans live. Media bias is a dangerous thing. And just to give CNN the benefit of doubt, we would even run a search on their main site to see if the same is being done on there as well. And to the surprise of some, we would see stories of white food stamp users in their archived reports. But again, none in their recent social media coverage, which from our assumption is viewed the most. Just this week, reports have started to circulate on the term digital blackface, in which some non-black users are using AI to reinforce negative stereotypes about black people, in which has been mainly used a part of the food stamp conversation.
Okay, so now you all know that I've been telling you all about this, about these fake, very real looking, in some cases, these very fake AI videos to further push negative stereotypes about Black people, trying to make us look like we're the welfare queens. Black women are the welfare queens, and we're the ones out here, just abusing the system and all of that.
So to only broadcast those same negative stereotypes does the same type of damage, in my opinion, as it alters people's perception and the true reality.
We finna pay for this with our EBT cards. Hell yeah, we not tipping the waiter nothing too.
So what's the issue? If we keep pushing one narrative over and over, don't you think it programs us to repeat cycles and thought patterns? Don't you think subconsciously this influences Black women on how they should view themselves? Don't you think it further makes people across the globe see Black people from one perspective without seeing us as fully capable people who can handle real opportunities and have for years, instead of limited handouts? Malcolm X once said, "The media is the most powerful entity on earth. They have the power to make the innocent guilty and to make the guilty innocent, and that's power."
That is very true. And another thing is, Max Weber, who was a renowned journalist before he died, I told you all before that he said one of the things he hated most about being a reporter were the manufactured stories that they had to make up on the African American community. So they absolutely do make up lies on us and then paint false narratives, just to try to make us look as bad as possible. Okay, like we're the degenerates of society. Okay. Let's not forget the young lady who was stabbed or had her throat slashed on the subway. And when they posted a picture, they showed a picture of her holding what looked like a gun, but it was a phone case that was shaped like a gun. Okay, trying to demonize the victim. But whereas the killers who don't look like us, they'll show pictures of them in their tuxedos, okay, prom pictures, and talk about what good math students they were, like they did with the shooter who killed like 30 plus people in the Batman movie theater shooting. Okay? Please pay attention.
Add to his quote, "The media has the power to make the king look poor and the poor look like kings." Yes, Black people only make up 12% of the nation while representing 26% of food stamp users. However, we can't ignore that white Americans are the majority of the recipients. We here at Hype Plus have always strived on giving accurate information to our viewers with no extra agenda outside the facts and a perspective that doesn't only reinforce negative stereotypes. Thanks to honest people online, White Food Stamp Nation has been more visible than ever before, and we're certain that this type of coverage helps us all progress and address the issues directly. Let's talk about them in the comments below. What are your thoughts about white food stamp recipients?
My thoughts, he said, what are your thoughts about white food stamp recipients not being covered by the mainstream media? My thoughts are, that's one of the reasons a lot of people don't really care for the mainstream media. Okay, we call them the lamestream media because they just push false narratives very often. At the end of the day, that's why when I do the reports on this, I show a variety of people. Okay, it doesn't matter what race you are because we all know that different races and ethnic groups use SNAP benefits. Okay, so let's not try to put it all on one group, but that's what they always do. They want to make us the fall guys. All right. So now with that being said, let's talk about ICE. Let's talk about ICE because they're trying to get this call center. They're trying to get this call center. So let's get into it. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Okay, here we go. They say U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement aims to open a call center that would have a dedicated unit to track down unaccompanied migrant children, okay, with the help of state and local police. An agency contracting document gives this information, part of a wider Trump administration effort to find and potentially deport the minors. Do y'all hear this? Do y'all hear this? To deport the minors if they're unaccompanied, don't care where their parents are. Now, this sounds like something shady. Because here's the thing. If they're not accompanied by an adult, how are we going to know where these kids are going and if they're actually being deported or not being sold off to someone for trafficking? I have a whole lot of questions. Okay, it's all I'm saying. I don't trust the government, never will. Now, the center would aim to feed information from state and local police to federal authorities, including the locations of unaccompanied children, according to the document, which was posted to a government tracking website on Tuesday. ICE wants to create a round-the-clock facility that could handle 6,000 or 6,000 to 7,000 calls per day related to immigration enforcement. President Donald Trump's administration kicked off an initiative in February to find and deport unaccompanied children. Now, this is an unprecedented push to track down minors who cross the U.S.-Mexico border illegally without a parent or guardian. The Trump administration has since taken other steps to increase enforcement, including an attempt to deport dozens of Guatemalan children, despite them having active U.S. immigration cases. So you mean to tell me children are coming over here by themselves? I have never heard of this. Children coming over here by themselves. How old are these children? They would have to be teenagers if this is to be believed. So anyway, they go on to say, at the same time, the Republican administration has greatly expanded their partnerships with state and local authorities to ramp up immigration arrests under a program known as 287G. The number of state and local agencies participated in the program has risen from 135 just before Trump took office to more than 1,100, according to ICE data. Now, critics have said the partnerships can erode trust in immigrant communities and make people less likely to report crimes. The contracting document said the call center would be located in Nashville, but did not explain why that city was selected. Core Civic, one of the main companies that contracts with ICE to operate immigration detention centers, is headquartered in Nashville. Now, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, ICE, and Core Civic did not immediately respond to requests for comments. I bet they didn't. Now, make that all make sense. This all sounds sketchy to me. I'm telling you all that as soon as I heard about this, I can't remember who it was that told me in the chat about it yesterday, and I wrote it down so I will remember to research it. Because call centers for minors is already sounded suspicious to me as soon as I heard it. What do you all think? Miss Mississippi said they're all in on it. Yeah, we've heard about judges and law enforcement being involved in trafficking cases. We have heard these things. Okay, we've even heard them talking about the CIA. Now, I don't know if these things are true, but it has absolutely been alleged, okay, by certain people who claim to be former CIA agents. So I have a whole lot of questions. And then let's not forget Tara Rhodes, the woman who came out and spoke before Congress a couple of years ago. I showed you all the reports where she said that she was hired to work with these children, and then come to find out they're supposed to be giving them to sponsors, but she blew the whistle on the fact that they were giving them to people who were known traffickers. And then all of those children that came up missing under the Biden administration. And at one time, there was a report about at least 1,500 children allegedly being taken from one side of the country to another in the dark of night during Biden's own administration. Okay, and there were people coming up missing that never were any updates to let us know if they were found or whatever happened. So when I hear things like this, it definitely raises my antennas. Okay, I definitely have questions. So let's go to this news report about it. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you in advance.
Hello, I'm Kelsey Gibbs joining you from the 5 Alert Center with a major update on the Trump administration's immigration agenda. A major part of ICE's operation could soon be headquartered in the greater Nashville area. We have reviewed this government document posted on a federal contracting site saying that the agency is looking for vendors who could help operate a national call center in our area. It says the goal would be take up to 7,000 daily calls as a round-the-clock operation. The document says one mission of the center would be to track unaccompanied migrant children. Earlier this year, ICE directed agents to track down those children, many of whom were released to sponsors while their cases moved through immigration courts. Another duty mentioned in the document would be helping agencies in the field by feeding them information from state and local police, relying heavily on the 287G program. That program allows local law enforcement officers to take on the same duties as immigration and customs enforcement agents, including serving civil immigration warrants inside jails and making enforcement stops. The document says ICE plans to get the call center up and running as early as March of next year and to be fully operational by June. Now, we are working to learn more about this plan and which vendors may be involved. We will update you on air and online at newschannel5.com. Now, here's Rory back in the studio.
Let me tell you all something. This is all very sketchy because here's the bottom line. Do you all think children are coming over here by themselves? What's likely happening is, now there could be some teens coming over by themselves, but I just feel like some of this stuff sounds crazy. I would believe that perhaps some of these kids have been smuggled over here, okay, abducted from their home countries and brought over here for the purposes of trafficking, being sold to people over here in the U.S. for trafficking. That's what I believe, okay? That's what I believe, because from data that I looked up years ago, maybe 4 years ago, when I was doing a report on trafficking, there was at least 800,000 children being trafficked in the United States per year, okay, according to my research back then. And with that all being said, I absolutely think that if there are children here who are unaccompanied and they're supposedly here by themselves, well, how did they get here? And why were they brought here? Okay, I just absolutely think that this is all a lot to do about trafficking. That's what I think it is, okay? At the end of the day, and it's going to be more of it, in my opinion, with this whole thing they have going on with this call center. I just don't find, because if they're deporting them back to where they came from, what are they going to do with them once they get them there? Who will they be given to? How will they find their families, their parents, or whatever? Okay, what is the whole process going to be? Are they going to treat them humanely or inhumanely, as we've seen and heard of them treating other people? Okay, how come they're not showing any of these children on the news? Or how come they're not reporting and letting people see what's going on in the courtrooms when they have these court cases? Who's represented them? Some of these kids that go to the immigration courts don't even have attorneys. I saw a little boy who was 6 years old, and I don't know if he was here with, or if he had come here with a family or not, but he was in court by himself. How did he get here? I know darn well he didn't make it on his own at the age of 6, sitting in a courtroom and didn't even know how to speak English. And they're asking him questions and he has no lawyer to represent him, no adult who's there for him. This is all crazy. And y'all gonna think that this hasn't anything to do with some sort of illegal practices going on for money to be gained by certain people? I absolutely think that's exactly what it is. And I'm going to dig into it because I want answers. Okay, so now with that all being said, let's get into our very special report, okay, about, are your braids poisoning you? Okay, let's talk about that, because according to a Consumer Report study that was published on my birthday of this year, February the 27th of 2025, they test 10 popular brands of synthetic braiding hair and detected dangerous chemicals, including carcinogens and even lead, in every single product they tested. Okay, all samples contained multiple carcinogens and volatile organic compounds known as VOCs, and 9 out of 10 products contained lead, raising concerns about potential long-term health issues for users, primarily Black women and girls. Okay, now what do you all think of that? What do you all think of that? Because I found it all very interesting and really a whole darn shame, because these things, in my opinion, are done purposely. Another thing is that when they put these harmful chemicals in these hair products, specifically the synthetic hair, they don't list it on the packaging. So if you're going to buy synthetic hair, different types of the synthetic hair, specifically Canacaline, that's one of the more popular brands that people like to use for having their hair braided. Okay, and these products don't have on the packaging that there's dangerous chemicals or what names of the chemicals. So you can look it up yourself to see if it's even dangerous. They don't even have that on the packaging. And just so you know, Canacaline contains several different types of chemicals. One of them is acrylyl. I hope I'm saying this right, but it's called acrylonitrile. Acrylonitrile. I'm sorry, that's what it is. Acrylonitrile. Okay, and vinyl chloride, as well as methylene chloride. Now, which is also known as dichloromethane. Now, these are cancer-causing agents, okay? The methylene chloride can cause different types of cancer, can affect the central nervous system and cause damage to that. But before I finish, let me just say this for YouTube purposes. I am not a medical doctor, and I am not giving you medical information. I'm just giving you information that came from a study conducted by the Consumer Reports. Okay, now let me continue. So with that all being said, and all of this information is for educational purposes and entertainment purposes only. Now, with that all being said, goes on to say that these are both toxic, okay, to humans. The acryl and the nitrile and the vinyl chloride are both toxic to humans. And this is according to the National Cancer Institute, okay, said that it directly links vinyl chloride to leukemia, lymphoma, rare forms of liver, brain, and lung cancers. Okay, do you all hear this? Okay, these products also contain lead and benzene, which benzene has been known to contribute allegedly to leukemia. Specifically. Now, other types of cancers as well, but specifically leukemia, or especially leukemia. Okay, also can cause a weakened immune system and damages to bone marrow. All right, so this is nothing to play around with. Now, I'm going to go to the report. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Okay, I'm going to put this up on the screen. Dangerous chemicals were detected in 100% of braiding hair that was tested. Okay, I wanted you all to see that 100%, every last one. Not some of them, but all of them. So there's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. Okay, so now let's talk about it. They say we sent to the lab 10 of the most popular synthetic braiding hair products on the market, from brands including Magic Fingers, Sassy Collection, Sensational, Shake and Go, and others. Carcinogens were detected in every last one of them. Now, whether you want to streamline their beauty regimen, add some gorgeousness before a vacation, or prepare their little ones for a few weeks away at sleepaway camp, many Black people will pick braided hairstyles as their go-to. Braids can deliver the look that's chic, versatile, and no fuss. Well, if you factor in the hours-long installation process, there is a fuss. They can be worn for weeks at a time, minimizing the need for their daily hair maintenance and all the copious products, breakage, heat, and wear and tear that come with it. Deeply rooted in Black culture, not to mention centuries of African aesthetic traditions, and frequently worn by celebrities like Michelle Obama, Beyonce, Kerry Washington, Robin Thede, and Halle Bailey, and social media influencers, the popularity of braids and faux locks isn't waning anytime soon. Now, in addition to being beautiful, desirable, and a time saver, braids can be accessible. While some braided hairstyles can come with 4-digit prices, many consumers can obtain a pack of synthetic braiding hair for as little as a few dollars on Amazon or at their local beauty supply store, and then make an appointment with their braider of choice. If they are available too, they can even braid their hair themselves. But could these beloved protective hairstyles actually be doing more harm than good? So after experiencing a braiding debacle 2 years ago, Crystal Thomas, a student at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine and the City University of New York, set out to find an answer to this very question. Thomas says that she went to a professional stylist to have braids done using what she recalls using the popular synthetic braid hair Canacolin. Now, her problem started that same day. She says, I couldn't sleep. My throat felt irritated, and I had trouble focusing on any type of work I was doing because of the smell. The smell just wouldn't go away, even after washing my hair multiple times. Probably a chemical smell, in my opinion. Now, experiencing constant discomfort, she removed her braids a week and a half later. And typically now people wear braided hairstyles for several weeks. We know this, okay, at least a couple of months. Now, she then decided to research possible health issues tied to braiding hair as part of her public health coursework. And she published her findings in a commentary article about the risk of carcinogenic materials in hair products for Black women. Okay, now let's remember, this isn't just braid hair for braiding that they have found chemicals in. You all know that they came out years ago and talked about how ammonium thioglycolate and different chemicals put in these relaxers, okay, for women, for Black women to use for their hair, that was causing fibroids, which can lead to people being infertile and other issues. So do you all think this is all just, by happenstance? I happen to think that some of these things are done purposely to the Black community, because why don't we hear about these things in other communities? Okay, I just believe that it's all by design. So anyway, experiencing constant discomfort, she removed the hair about a week later. So we contacted Kanika about this complaint, and the company said Kanika only manufactures the Kanekalon fibers that are used in various hair products, such as synthetic hair braids and wigs, and does not produce any of the final products, they say. Now, the company went on to say that other companies take those fibers and process, dye, customize, and distribute the actual final products that consumers then purchase. The company added that it would need more information to fully investigate the complaint. Now, Thomas is not the only person to have this experience. Now, Black women are the primary users of these products, and people of African descent are the largest group of consumers of hair, wigs, and extensions. In 2023, the U.S. market for these products was valued at $2.79 billion and is expected to reach a value of $6.34 billion by 2029. Thomas's goal was to spark a conversation about how the high usage may be putting Black communities at risk. The article called into question the safety of synthetic hair, which may be made from a copolymer of monocrylic and vinyl chloride, and can include other chemicals with known links to adverse health effects. Okay. They say what is unique about braid extensions is the length of exposure users have to them. Synthetic braids are typically worn for about 4 to 6 weeks. Black women and other individuals who use synthetic hair are therefore exposed to these ingredients consistently during that time. Okay, I want you all to think about this. You're having this stuff in your hair, and you do know that the skin is the largest organism, right? The largest organ. So with that all being said, when you put things on your skin, your hair, scalp, things like that, those things can be absorbed into your scalp. Okay, that's why it was a problem with women getting fibroids from the hair relaxers, because you're not supposed to apply it to the scalp, but of course it usually, when you're applying it, gets on the scalp. Okay, that's the same for this braiding hair, or hair used for braiding. So anyway, you're having it on your head for a long period of time. Now, to begin to understand how much risk synthetic braids poses, CR scientists tested 10 popular brands of synthetic braiding hair products for heavy metals and volatile organic compounds. Okay, now carcinogens or chemicals that may cause cancer were detected in 100% of those samples. Lead was detected in 9 out of the 10 products. So almost all of them contained lead except for one. Consumers Reports has a long history of testing products for chemical contamination and evaluating their comparative safety. When synthetic braiding hair test leader James E. Rogers, PhD, director and head of product safety testing, and his team set out to begin this testing in 2024, he says he had 3 goals: to determine whether the chemicals were present, to determine whether you could measure them and how much of each chemical was present, and to find out whether there was a way to determine the possible risk to the consumers who use these products. This is a topic that is near and dear to Rogers. He says, my 2 daughters wear braids often, and I have helped with purchasing the hair and the braid takedown many times over the years. His team tested 2 samples each of the 10 of the most popular products on the market. All products were a version of black or brown hair. Okay, so the carcinogens are chemicals that may cause cancer. He said they're classified in 3 ways. Okay, this is according to Eric Boren, a CR scientist with a PhD in chemistry. He said there is strong scientific data to link the chemical to cancer. Usually this means multiple or more than 3 sources confirming this, and there is very little argument within the scientific community. okay, or the likelihood of it, the probability. They say there is significant data, at least 2 or 3 sources confirming this, although there might be some dispute in the scientific community. There might be only one set of data confirming, or there is substantial dispute of the possibility within the scientific community, or we might have data confirming that a similar chemical is a carcinogen. Now, all the synthetic braiding hair products we tested contained multiple carcinogens. These products contained benzene, which is a known carcinogen that causes acute myeloid leukemia. This is strictly regulated and discouraged to use in laboratories because of its potential to cause cancer. This is what Roger says. 2 products contained an animal carcinogen, and all samples contained a probable carcinogen, methylene chloride. That was the one. Okay, so please pay attention. All of these dangerous chemicals, and who would have even thought that this stuff was in there? Because like I said, none of this is on the packaging. There is no warning label. Okay, there is no, nothing on there to just inform people about it. And then here's the thing. They're supposedly doing some sort of investigation, a federal investigation. Let me pull this up. Y'all see this? This is what they have going on here. Certain pre-stretched synthetic braiding hair and packaging, therefore, notice of institution of investigation. A notice by the International Trade Commission on August the 7th of 2025. Okay, so there's a whole investigation going on about this. All right, so clearly this is serious business and nothing to scoff at, if you ask me. So now let's go to this synthetic braid hair news report.
Years, Black women have used synthetic braids to help style their hair. But a recent study by Consumer Reports found that these fake hair strands can contain dangerous chemicals that pose a health threat. Ali Rogan begins our report with a look at the rich history of braiding in Black culture.
Interweaving pieces of hair into styles like cornrows and twists began thousands of years ago. In Africa, men and women would ravel intricately braided patterns on their heads laced with gold adornments and hair extensions. These designs were a marker of class and age. But by the 17th century, enslaved Africans would be forced to shave their heads.
I want you all to peep something. Now, I'm going to roll it back. Okay, I'm going to roll it back a second. Nicole, thank you for your contribution to the channel, beloved. I appreciate you. She says, great show, Queen. Thank you. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, but I want you all to peep something. They just showed the Egyptians. Okay, so we already know that they know who the real Egyptians were. Okay, while they have these people in movies like the Gods of Egypt with nobody that looks like us ever. But when they talk about braids, funny thing is they're showing Egyptians. Okay, so please pay attention. Okay, they always telling themselves, but let me roll it back.
Interweaving pieces of hair into styles like cornrows and twists began thousands of years ago. In Africa, men and women would ravel intricately braided patterns on their heads laced with gold adornments and hair extensions. These designs were a marker of class and age. But by the 17th century, enslaved Africans would be forced to shave their heads, censoring their identity. Only some were allowed to braid their hair. Then in the 20th century, as African Americans gained their freedom and status, some chose Eurocentric hairstyles, which meant flattening their hair and its natural curls.
When folks gained their freedom from enslavement, they chose to wear Eurocentric hairstyles as a means of safety for a lot of reasons. Assimilating to whiteness or Eurocentric standards of beauty could mean a job.
Dr. Nicole Jenkins is an assistant professor of sociology and criminology at Howard University and a visiting professor at Harvard. She says the civil rights era in the 1950s and 60s triggered a return for many Black Americans to hairstyles that celebrated their African heritage.
This was a way for folks in the Black community to celebrate their Blackness rather than try to assimilate or hide it.
On popular shows like Soul Train, Black Americans rocked a fro. Others opted for braids, a classic look that exploded again in the late 90s and early 2000s. R&B star Alicia Keys made them her aesthetic, and in recent years, Beyoncé would popularize lemonade braids, a new spin on the classic cornrow style of braids named after the singer's 2016 album Lemonade. But now, a new report is raising concerns about popular synthetic hair used in braided styles.
Now, this consumer report is coming out and saying that there are carcinogens within the braiding hair, right? Which is the antithesis of what many Black women are trying to do in the promotion of their hair health. It has the ability to impact the natural hair movement and the hair industry quite a bit.
Dr. Adena Llanos is an associate professor of epidemiology and co-leader of the Cancer Population Science program at Columbia University. Dr. Llanos, thank you so much for joining us. The Consumer Reports investigation found dangerous levels of these chemicals in some of the most popular synthetic braiding hair brands. What do we know about the risks, the health risks of exposure to these toxins?
Yeah, so the recent test by Consumer Reports revealed that these synthetic braiding hair products can contain a variety of toxic chemicals, including carcinogens, benzene, and methylene chloride, as well as heavy metals like lead and cadmium. And so this is a concern for consumers who use these products regularly and keep them on their hair long term.
Certainly, many consumer products have trace levels of toxic chemicals that you wouldn't want in big amounts. But the notion that you have the braids on your head for a very long time, does that have an impact on the risks that may be associated with using these products long term?
Yeah, absolutely. People that use these synthetic hair braiding products keep braids in their hair for 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. So if you think about it, these small doses of toxic chemical exposures really are long-term sort of doses, which can be associated with increased risk of many outcomes.
What should Black women be aware of when purchasing and using these types of synthetic hair?
I think the most important thing for Black women, and I think all consumers, is to be aware of the products that they're using and to be aware of the potential harms from chemicals in those products.
What is significant about the scale of the tests that have been done on hair braiding products so far, and what still needs to be done and tested on?
I have a colleague at Silent Spring, Dr. Alicia Franklin, who's actually testing these same products. We need more studies like this on these products and many other products that are widely available on the market to understand what these exposures are. And in reality, we don't have long-term studies that can tell us exactly what are the health hazards associated with using these products, or what are the health hazards associated with long-term exposures to the chemicals in these specific products.
In terms of regulation, the FDA proposed a ban on formaldehyde in hair straightening products after studies revealed that that causes cancer. That ban has not yet gone into effect, but based on what we've seen the FDA do with regard to previous products, how do you think the agency is going to respond to this kind of study?
You know, it's hard to say what the FDA will do in response to this study and other studies that my colleagues and I are actively conducting, and, you know, data that we will be reporting out soon. But all I can say is I believe that the FDA should regulate synthetic braiding products, and many other consumer products that we know contain carcinogens and other toxic chemicals.
Well, and to this point, studies have consistently shown that there are fewer low-hazard products available in the personal care category for Black women than on the personal care market as a whole. So are there deeper issues that are at play here?
Yes, I would say so. And I think that's a really important point to raise. I'm aware of a variety of brands and manufacturers that are moving towards providing, cleaner, less toxic, whatever you want to call safer. And I put that in quotes. And so I think as these manufacturers recognize that consumers, including Black women, are interested in products that are less toxic to their health, I think it's up to these manufacturers to do the right thing and make better products. And in addition to the manufacturers, I think the FDA needs to regulate products more widely so that we aren't concerned about the products that are widely available in our stores.
Dr. Adena Llanos with Columbia University, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so you all heard that, and I find it very interesting that she said that the FDA has yet to enforce the ban that was suggested for formaldehyde being used in hair care products. Okay, and then you also heard what they said about the hair relaxers. Okay, can cause cancer as well, the products that they have in those. And there is actually a class action lawsuit now for women who have complained about getting fibroids from using some of those products and other issues like cancers or whatever. But the mentioning of formaldehyde, now we know that formaldehyde is a product that's commonly used when people are embalmed. Okay, now studies of people exposed to formaldehyde at work have also found a possible link to cancer of the nasal sinuses. This is for people who work with them. Okay, studies of people exposed to formaldehyde in the workplace have reported a link between formaldehyde exposure and cancer of the nasopharynx, the upper part of the throat behind the nose. These studies linked to people or looked at people who work in places that use or make formaldehyde and formaldehyde resins, as well as people at work who work as embalmers. Now, just think about it. This is what they're putting in hair. Several studies have found that embalmers and medical professionals who use formaldehyde have an increased risk of leukemia, particularly myeloid leukemia. Some studies of industrial workers exposed to formaldehyde have also found increased risk of leukemia, but not all studies have shown an increased risk. One study found that workers exposed to formaldehyde had higher than normal levels of chromosome changes in early forms of white blood cells in their bone marrow. Now, this is all what I have just told you all about the things found in those synthetic pre-stretched synthetic braiding hair. Okay, it did say that the carcinogens could cause bone marrow issues. Okay, damage to the central nervous system, and also one specifically, I believe it was the vinyl chloride, causes myeloid leukemia. Now, why do all of these why is formaldehyde having the same things, causing the same things as those chemicals? Because it's also a carcinogen. Okay, and so studies looking at possible links between workplace exposure to formaldehyde and other types of cancer have not found a consistent link. Several national and international agencies study different substances in the environment to determine if they cause cancer. The American Cancer Society looks to those organizations to evaluate the risk based on the evidence from lab, animal, and human research studies. Okay, with that all being said, based on the available evidence, some of these expert agencies have evaluated the cancer-causing potential of formaldehyde. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. You have to be careful out here. You have to be very careful. We're going to go to a couple of other, maybe 2 more reports, and then I'm out of here. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance.
The concerning findings and have tips on how to stay safe.
For many people, braided hairstyles are more than just fashion. They're a time-tested tradition that makes hair care easier.
I like to wear braids because it saves me time in the morning. They're convenient. You can just style it and just go.
Now, a new investigation by Consumer Reports is raising alarming questions about the safety of synthetic braiding hair. 10 popular synthetic braiding hair products were tested. The results? Very troubling. Every sample contained carcinogens, chemicals that may cause cancer.
3 of the samples tested positive for benzene, a carcinogen that is highly regulated and discouraged for use in laboratories because of the potential to cause cancer.
James Rogers, who led CR's synthetic hair testing, says testing found lead in 90% of the products.
There is no safe levels of lead. Our risk assessments and exposure models indicate that for users of these 9 products, they could be exposed to concerning levels of lead over time.
And the risks don't stop there. When the hair is dipped in hot water during installation, a standard practice, it releases volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, that can irritate eyes, throat, and lungs. CR contacted all the brands for comment. Only 2, Sensational and Magic Fingers, responded, both disagreeing with CR's test methodology. Hair Zone Sensational said, "We unequivocally stand by the safety of Sensational's products, and our company urges consumers to continue to confidently use Sensational products." Magic Fingers said, "We strongly stand by the safety of our products and the quality materials used to make them. If you use synthetic braids or if you install them, experts recommend the following safety precautions to reduce risk. 1, check for product recalls. 2, read labels carefully and limit how long you wear the style.
If you've experienced reactions to synthetic braiding hair, Consumer Reports recommends talking to your doctor and consider filing a report with the FDA. I'm Rhonda Walker. Back to you.
All right, thanks, Rhonda. By the way, the QR code at the bottom of your screen is going to take you to our special Consumer Reports section that's posted on Click on Detroit.
Okay, just a couple of more. And this lady is going to give some tips on what you can do to stay safe and how to avoid, the dangers of having these chemicals. And also, there was one lady who posted a video I saw a few weeks ago. She literally had chemical burns on the back of her neck from those braids. Another lady got chemical burns in her eye, okay, from the braids hanging in her face.
Ladies, especially, it is almost summertime, which means it's time to get our bust-down braids for that summer protective style. Samantha's, yours look great. But you may have seen our recent reporting from Consumer Reports. It talks about toxic levels of chemicals found in 10 different brands of synthetic braiding hair. I know a lot of you are worried. You've been reaching out to us. I spoke with a local hairstylist about some tips about what you should do before you get your summer braids.
First thing first, make sure that you talk with your dermatologist, make sure you talk with your hairstylist to figure out if you are actually having an allergic reaction and some alternate styles that you could wear. In addition to that, if you are going to wear braided styles, you can use rebundle hair, which is a safe, non-toxic, plant-based hair. In addition, you could always use natural human hair instead of using the synthetic braiding hair. I hope this helps.
So you heard Yane's advice, but as always, make sure you talk to your doctor. For more information, head to NBCWashington.com. I love these, by the way. I'm going to get braids this summer, but we're going to do it safely. Okay, ladies, especially, it is almost summertime, which means it's time to get our bust-down braids for that summer protective style. Samantha's, yours.
Okay, so with that all being said, listen, I'm going to show you all some of the things that have happened to some of these people that actually got their hair braided. And one person who is a hair braider, and what she got, it looks awful.
It could be so toxic because I took down my hair a day ago, and ever since I've taken down my hair, my face has been fully covered in bumps, and like this area here hurts so bad. I have these 2 bumps here, and they just been like randomly coming. I don't know where. Like, I don't know if you guys can tell. The camera's not doing it as much justice, but my face is covered in bumps. And my face was not like that before I started taking my braids out. So I truly believe that it's the braiding hair. So be careful with the braiding hair, ladies and gentlemen, because it could be toxic. I don't think I'm gonna do braids in a while until I find hair that is non-toxic. So if you guys know any brands out there that are non-toxic, let me know, because I will be using that. But for now, I drank some Benadryl, but my eyes are, ooh, they burn. They burn really bad, and they've been burning since yesterday. So I 100% believe that it was the braiding hair. Braiding hair.
This do not look like it's getting better. It's actually looking like it's getting worse, y'all. What in the world? And I haven't picked at it or nothing. My arm. I don't know what to do. They gave me medicine. I don't know, y'all. But this do not look like eczema. This look like something else. Good morning, y'all. This do not look like it's getting better. It's actually looking.
Okay, so that look nasty as I don't know what. Did y'all see it? Absolutely gross. Okay, that would be enough to make me not want to fool with braids again ever. So now let's go to this video where the woman got the chemical burns and got it in her eye.
For this young lady's mother. Have y'all seen this video? I feel so bad for this. This is her daughter, this is her mother. For this young lady's mother. Like, I'm gonna tell y'all what happened. Like, do you see how swole her eyes are? Like, this is just something has got to be done. So her mother decided to do her braids, right? She just went to the store, got her some braiding hair. And it's crazy that I saw this video. The reason why I'm making this is because I saw this video right after I left. Because, you know, it's time. It's summertime. People of color, we like to put braids in our hair. We going swimming. We be doing stuff. We don't like to deal with it. We just put braids in our hair. And not too long ago, I saw a video of a girl taking a pack of braids, putting it in some hot water in her tub. I'm going to see if I can find it. I wish I could find this so I could have showed it on here. But it was all types of suds and chemicals that just came out of the hair. So this lady was doing her hair. She was braiding her hair, right? And you know how the hair get in your face. She was just rubbing the hair out of her face as she was braiding it, doing her doing some knotless braids. And I guess the hair kind of got in her eye. And, you know, her eye got irritated really, really bad. So she was like, oh, you know, sometimes, you know, when you braiding your hair, sometimes it get in there, you just wipe it off, you keep going. She wasn't able to, like, it just wouldn't go away. So her eyes ended up looking, I'm gonna show you this. Like, this is a screenshot from the video. Look how swollen her eyes are. And that's her daughter putting eye drops in her eyes. And it's I'm Official M and I'm Official M. I'm so pissed off, I don't know what to do. So it's like, what happened was she actually has chemical burns in her eyes. Like, they're cut so deep in her eyes. So she went to the emergency room. She didn't know this till she went to the emergency room. They gave her something that's supposed to fix her eyes that made it worse. That made it worse. Like, she has these lacerations in her eyes. Like, it's a big mess. I think she should sue where she got the hair from. We need to start suing for these chemicals that they're selling us. I don't care. You can't let the stores that are doing this to us, let them take it up with the manufacturers, because they gatekeep and don't want people of color selling our own products and stuff anyway. So how about this? We need to start suing these companies where this hair is coming from. It has to be a lawsuit on both sides. Like, why is the emergency room prescribing stuff that damages your eye, that melts your eye? Like, they literally trying to give this woman some relief. She's in so much pain, some relief. that they give her some of this numbing stuff to put in her eyeball and send her home. And the whole time, she's like, it's getting worse and worse. I just pray for this lady. I hope it's just sad because this is something that all of us, we wear braids all the time. Summertime is people of color, black girls, this is braids. This is season for us. Like, are they purposely doing this? Like, why is this happening?
Yes, they're purposely doing it. That's why y'all need to wake up and wear your own natural hair. If you want your natural hair straight, you can straighten it yourself. Wear your own hair. If you want braids, braid your own hair. Okay? Y'all see how long my hair is? That's because I don't put chemicals in my hair. Okay? Black women complain about their hair not growing. Well, it's not going to grow the way that it should, the magnitude for which it should, when you're constantly damaging it with heat and using all these different chemicals and all these different things in your hair. And yes, they're doing it on purpose. How are they not? Do you hear the white community talking about beauty supply or beauty products giving them cancer? Their edges falling out? And that's the thing. White people wear braids too. Have you ever heard white women complain about their edges falling out and y'all sit up here wondering why you have no edges and you wear braids? Please pay attention. It's likely the chemicals, okay? And then sometimes people can actually braid your hair so tight that it pulls, the tension. If you keep getting it done over and over, the tension can make your hair start to recede. But sometimes it's also those chemicals that they're using. You need to be very careful because lead can cause all sorts of problems. Okay, even birth defects. So think about someone who's pregnant getting hair, this pre-stretched synthetic hair that has the lead and other chemicals in it. All right. And some people like to keep their hair braided the entirety of their pregnancy. Keep getting it braided over and over so they don't have to bother with it. Anyway, that's the news for now. That was you all's lifelines for today. Okay, I hope you all got something out of it. Hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Please like, share, subscribe. And if you have not been receiving those notifications, please go back and double check to make sure you are still subscribed from the channel, because every live, I promise you, they unsubscribe people. With that all being said, I love you all to life. Enjoy the rest of this day. Enjoy your strong end, not the weekend, leaving you in a weakened state of mind. Don't forget, tomorrow is Sunday, so we will be having True Crime Sundays for members only. And I'll also be doing a regular broadcast for everybody else. Okay, so until next time, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Peace.
Hey, yo, Nick, hit him with that flavor. Soul all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you're done. They show no love for the queen, why you hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? I got dreams like King Luther, shed blood like Kunta. You ain't helping my people, I ain't got nothing to say to ya. I want all the smoke like hookah. Talking reparations, America won't be great until they give us compensation. I'm like, I'm the hottest right now. That's See right. A bunch of lames out here trying to jock on my style. They be doing too much. I'm the queen, it's too easy. It's like they all at Popeyes, how they be talking so greasy. I just sit back and laugh while these haters get madder. So nefarious how they don't want my pockets with cheddar. I tell them they can do better. These snakes in the grass can leave a bite on your ass, cause y'all be trusting too fast. I got my foot on the gas, other one on they necks. Dropping receipts on haters, you better show some respect. I'm never facing regrets, we only facing the threats. Running through every challenge like a relay, break no sweat. It's a cold game, so I got that blanket with me. Now that my people awaken, ain't no going to sleep. I do not play by my piece, this time I'm playing for keeps. You talking slick, but when I see you like them ends, we gon' meet. And I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans and I got gold all in my skin, God all in my blood. Kings all in my circle, you touch one of mine and you done. They show no love for the queen, why they hating on me? Is it cause I'm free and I got Malcolm X in my jeans? queens and I got